Well, hello, and thank you for joining us here on another edition of our Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions podcast, coming to you from Concho, America. I'm Darren Brown, Senior Content Producer here at Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions. Today, I have the Cheyenne and Arapaho Department of Labor. Hello, guys. Thanks for being here so much. All right. Well, let's start with you right here, Erwin. We'll introduce yourselves around the table, then we'll get started.
Okay. Yes, good afternoon. My name is Erwin Pahmahmie, Jr. I'm the Executive Director for our Department of Labor.
I'm Tim Yeahquo. I serve as the Cheyenne and Arapaho Vocational Rehabilitation Director.
Hello, I'm Kathleen TallBear, and I'm the TERO Director.
All right. So I know a little bit about what you guys do, but probably about that much of it. So that's why you're here. So Erwin, I'll give you this question. Kind of give us an overview for those folks who really don't know what the Department of Labor is all about. Tell us what you do, man.
Well, what we do is to provide opportunities for employment and training for eligible Native Americans. We have federal funding, we have tribal funding, and we're actively seeking grant opportunities at this time.
Okay, and so that's very short and sweet. So who do we have represented here?
Yes.
I mean, what programs do we have here?
Yes, within our Department of Labor, we have our administration, which is my office, our Dreams program, which is our blended program, and then Office of Veterans Affairs. And those two programs, unfortunately, aren't here today with us. But in the meantime, we do have our Office of our Vocational Rehab program and our Tribal Employment Rights Ordinance, or TERO.
Well, let's start with Kathleen on the end. Kathleen, I know you worked for the tribes for some years, but can you tell us about what your office does?
So TERO stands for Tribal Employment Rights Ordinance. It was an ordinance that was passed by the tribes back in 95, but we've recently updated in 2023, or 22 actually. And what our main goal is Indian preference employment, ensuring that our tribal members and Native Americans that live within the service area are employed, have the first chance at employment, and also for us to ensure that employers coming onto our tribal land gives that preference. We also vet the company or the business to make sure that they are Indian owned. Those claiming Indian preference or Indian owned business, they have to maintain 51% of ownership of that business, and we actually go through a process to certify them, and which is a pretty lengthy process. We included looking at financials and things, but the other component is just to ensure that they're hiring Indian subcontractors. We like to at least have about 25% of the contracting jobs to be in native businesses. The other thing is to provide assistance for EEO claims, those that feel they're discriminated on jobs that are not maybe within our service area but are not native or tribal government jobs. We can provide them access to do a pre-charge inquiry with the EEO office, also to educate them and let them know what they're entitled to, what their rights are, when filing claims.
Wow, that's a lot more than I knew about. I mean, everything you said, I said, I didn't know that. Well, we will get into that more in just a little bit, but I got to have Tim talk about Voc Rehab now.
Yeah. Voc Rehab, it's pretty simple. We help people with disabilities, American Indians with disabilities, in their employment goal. So our age is, because you can work at 14 years old in Oklahoma, so we start at 14 all the way up to elder age if they still want to work and they have a diagnosed disability. We want to come alongside them with services to help them in their employment goal. And a lot of times people say, what kind of services? It just depends on the disability. It depends on the individual. And there's no set specific one service. This is what we do. So just like I said, it's case by case, individual by individual, and we just want to come alongside people and see them successful in their employment goals.
And what you may not know is Tim also voices one of the characters on our Friarbread Flats kids program. So
yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but I wanted you to say something.
Hey, this is not the first time he's been in this studio. So, or actually any of you guys, really. Erwin, you mentioned at the top, you said there's federal funding and tribal funding, and I know you've all talked about services for Native Americans. But I'm never quite clear on, since we have so many programs here with federal and or state and or tribal, I always have to ask. I'm never clear on. Obviously, Cheyenne and Arapaho members would be the priority, but I didn't know if that includes a tribal service area only, or if there's out of state involved, or there's or does it extend to other tribes as well? So could you get me hip on all that?
Yes,
Get me in the know. Get me in the know, Erwin.
Yeah. Of course, with our federal funding and stuff, it was good that you brought up the service area, because that funding unfortunately is restricted to our service area here in Oklahoma. However, our tribal funding, we want to model it and provide similar services that are offered through our federal sources, but sometimes those may be a little bit limited. And I will say that all of our programs are supplemental; they're not a full ride or anything. They're just here to help you along and stuff, and we try to network with as many other partners as we have, whether they're state, other tribes, or even our local entities as well too. So, but I think in most cases, though, for our out-of-state areas too, we also try to inform them of those other federally funded programs that are operating the same thing that we're doing here, because as well as us, they're counted as population through census and stuff.
So just like I said, I want to make it get it clear in my mind. Then maybe if my little feeble brain can understand, maybe our listeners can. So, do you offer services that are for CNAs only?
Yes, we do actually.
Okay, but is it different programs all throughout?
It's usually defined through our legislative process and everything, where they clearly define those things, and it's solely funded through tribal sources.
Okay, but and at the same time, are there services that are provided to tribal members all across the state, no matter which tribe?
Yes, there is our federal funding. Yeah, I know it's really intricate.
I had to ask.
Yes,
and I'm sure it's within each program there's different criteria.
That's correct. Yes, they have to meet certain things, eligibility through income, certain statuses, even like veterans as well. They receive a certain status, with some of the employment programs that they don't have to meet certain qualifications.
So when someone calls you up, says, Erwin, hey, I'm this tribe. Can you do this for me? It's like you I don't know. Maybe you've done it so long. You go, yes, no. I don't know.
No,
but I'm saying I'm sure your people can walk someone through. Is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yes, and that's what I would defer them to, is just to apply for services.
Yeah. How does that process work?
Well, we have at least 3 different outlets, I feel. They could call us up and we can either send them an application. We do have some of our applications online on our tribal webpage.
Oh, that was my next question. I'm glad. Because we discussed that before.
Yes. And then, of course, too, if they want to go ahead and just come in to the office and visit us, we have individuals available for them to visit with and explain what's needed. Sometimes one thing leads to another, so I'd say please, work with us on that part, because I know somebody wants to say, all right, I came in, I filled it out, all right, I'm done.
Where's my services?
I want it now.
I got it.
But sometimes one thing leads to another.
Sure.
So.
And Kathleen, I know, like I said, so you said this program is still fairly new. Is that what you said?
It's not new. It's just not been made aware. People were not aware of it.
Well, exactly. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think that the process requires it's a regulatory program. So it really requires somebody to be diligent about reviewing the certification process, being able to be aware, of where job vacancies are, to establish a job bank, and also to be able to work with contractors to kind of negotiate those terms and getting a process started. One of the things that we had the ordinance, but it really didn't define a process, and that's what we've been difficult at, and it's been difficult. But this past year, I've been in this program for about almost 2 years, and we finally have a process. We're trying to streamline that process because we work with procurement, grants and contracts, and planning and development, as well as roads on any of the constructions, and trying to implement the TERO. And we also collect a fee with those contractors, and we use those resources to either pay for training that isn't available through our DREAMS program. More specifically, like our comprehensive development plan, the SEDS plan that the tribes created, where they wanted to go into different types of businesses. We want to be able to provide training for that. We're looking to develop a training school for carpentry.
That's a great idea.
And then we're also looking at providing other training just to enhance people where they're at now. How can we get our tribe more knowledgeable about the different things they could be doing within their programs?
Can we get them employment employment ready, I suppose.
Employment, not
Fully
only employment
prepared.
ready, because I know Dreams does a lot of the work readiness type programs, but what we're trying to do is get them beyond that. Do you need a certification? Let's get that certification.
Okay.
If it's something for a specific skill, because we're going to be moving into this kind of a business, like the meat marketing business, or like I think there was talk about hemp production. We've got this fiber optics going around, and we've got other things that are on the fire right now that we're hoping to get people interested in and wanting to pursue a career in that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. That just cleared up a whole lot for me. One other thing, and like I said, I love doing these because I learned so much, because there's some stuff I thought I knew about, but I really didn't know a whole lot. And hopefully that's our listeners and our viewers can get the same thing. So I know that whenever we have a groundbreaking here, let's say, I know that most recently I'm thinking that we did something with the child care.
Child care expansion.
An expansion. So I'm always think it's really cool because we have the governors there and have all our VIPs, but they also have the architects and the construction people, and it's always a native owned company. And I always thought that's really cool. But I guess that's part of what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Is that there's it's not just hey, by the way, let's hire a native company. No, that's our priority, and that's what you're trying to say.
Yes,
right?
yes. Well, the federal government allowed that Indian preference, and I forget the name, Office of Personnel Management, and then there's the Office of Federal Civil something, OFCCP.
Oh, throw in some acronyms.
Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah, OFCCP
every
is the one
every program has about 30.
Well, back in the 70s, they created this law,
Uh-huh.
and it allowed for this Indian preference. And so and this is just an education, because one of the things we found out is like JOM, for instance. There are some schools that have JOM that contracted directly, and or Title VII. And so Title VII is an Indian education program, which I think is now Title VI or
I think
Title V.
you're right.
But anyway, so we have schools that are hiring non-Indians for those programs, non-natives, and I happen to have a call from someone for a reference about an individual that I had worked with and was native, and they were getting their teacher credential. And I actually told them, I said, by law, you're supposed to hire a native. Because you are providing services to native students, and this is a native program, and by law you should be hiring a native person first. Priority goes to the native person, applicant, before you go to a non-native applicant. And I said, so how many tutors do you have? And she was like, oh, this many. And I was like, how many of them are native? And it was like none of them were. And this applicant happened to be a first applicant. And I said, well, the priority needs to go out to natives. But I don't know how many people are aware of that. And and it's written in the grant guidelines.
Yeah.
But and a lot of people say, well, that's racism, or that's And
that was my next question.
But it's not. And so they clarified it by saying this is kind of like a political categorization rather than a racial categorization.
It's a little different.
Yes, because we're citizens of this tribe. We have the ability to say that only these citizens, just like in Oklahoma, only Oklahoma citizens are supposed to comply with certain laws, not residents of Texas or anything. Well, it's the same thing, like only citizens of the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes or of these tribes have the ability to do these things, and that's the preference.
Well, now we're getting somewhere, right? All right. Well, Tim, before we even get there, you mentioned DREAMS.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is? And is that an acronym for something?
Yes, it's an acronym is for Developing Responsible Employees.
I just put you on the spot.
I know. I was like, maybe think real quick. Yeah, developing employees.
Somebody look it up real quick.
Developing employees.
Developing responsible employees and marketing success.
Yes.
Yeah. I knew one of y'all had it.
Yeah.
And I know that. I'll just let you go. But it involves young people as well, right?
Yes, we have an employment program for youth during the summertime, usually during June and July. And
can you talk about that real quickly?
Yes, we Well, my director, they've opened it up right now and stuff, and so they've been advertising, and we've actually been allowed to extend to a certain amount of, again, like we talked about earlier, about we received additional funding through the tribes itself through a legislative process, so therefore we've expanded and extended our deadline for that program.
But the great thing is it's getting kids, bringing them in and giving them a little taste of the real world,
Yes.
which I think you can never go wrong with,
Yes, and the age group again is 14 to 24. The additional funding was also kind of geared a little bit more towards individuals that may be in college. So some of our youth that are returning to us. So it's not just for young folks, really young folks. It's also for, those that are getting prepared to, enter the workforce. And I think that's one great aspect for the program, as well as to just providing those good work habits. They do have programs like that, emphasize, the stuff that, we know that not everywhere, we had someone looking over us to tell us, no one's going to be there to tell you to get up and get ready, brush your teeth, comb your hair, put deodorant on,
Your wife doesn't
iron
do
your
that for you?
clothes,
No.
because, and that's it. We want to make sure that, when they,
Yeah.
enter their employment, that, they do have that greater understanding of what's going to be expected of them. So that way there's no, oh, well, I just thought I would just get up and just head on into work and, hair's messed up, bad breath. And, because that's it, we want them to be retained, have that understand for retainment. And
Now
then
y'all are all checking your hair right now, right? Checking your breath.
yeah, I know. I was like, go eat the onion burger. You'd be checking your
Oh,
breath there.
hey.
Yeah.
Hey, you hit up Johnny's. You got to go brush your teeth real fast.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, well. Okay, Tim, you talked about Voc Rehab a little bit, and I know that you mentioned services are kind of like customized.
Hmm.
Can you give us some like exampple? I'm
Oh
curious.
yeah, sure. A lot of schooling, a lot of training for individuals, retraining. Sometimes the disability that the individual may have, they can't do their previous job. So we
Mhm.
want to retrain them with other services. I mean, I think of, so we've done a lot of retraining with schooling, not just college, CDL training. I mean, we've done one was like the fiber optic training. We partnered with them. It's a cool collaboration with Dreams also. Is that like, Dreams will come along and help with tuition, and we'll co-serve some clients, and they'll pay tuition, and we'll come along and we'll get those tools they need, because those tools are very what's the word? They're very specialized. And so we've done that, and we'll partner with that. And so just depending on what the individual needs. We
Let
a
me
lot of
jump in
clothes.
here really quickly. I don't want to, I'm just because people, I mean, are curious like me. You mentioned disabilities, and I know that that word can mean a lot of things. But can you just provide us some examples, like an individual who may have this issue, or
Okay.
maybe they can't do this anymore? I mean,
Absolutely. When you think of Indian country, one of our big ones is diabetes. And diabetes in and of itself isn't a disabling condition. However, there are symptoms of diabetes,
Yeah.
like neuropathy. Therefore, it's limited mobility, limited function in the legs sometimes, limited eyesight, And so it just depends on the specific diagnosis the individual has that impedes their employment. It's
impedes the peak performance,
yeah,
I guess.
it's in whatever their disability is causing an impediment to
Mhm.
get to their goal or to reach their goals. So we come alongside them to help them kind of alleviate that hump. Always tell our clients, we're not going to do it for you, but we're going to help you kind of get over the hill a little bit. And so I think of individuals right now. I think of one individual who sat up front, and they really had a customer service job, and the individual didn't have an eye. And so we would normally just go buy an eye for somebody, but because this individual sat up front and because their job required them to be seen by the public, we wanted them to feel confident in what they did. So we went ahead and helped purchase that with their insurance, and with some of their out-of-pocket expense. We covered it to help them have that prosthesis, so they could do their job well, and things like that, and feel confident in their employment.
And I'm guessing that you have well, it sounds like you've got a lot of success stories.
There are. And sometimes it just depends. Sometimes they come few, sometimes they come a lot. But when you get those successes, you realize it's all worth it. All the services we put into it, because individuals with disabilities, they're already kind of, having to overcome something.
Yeah.
And so when you see them success, it means much more for us and for them, and they're very thankful. A lot of people are very thankful for our services.
Yeah, I know, Erwin, at the very beginning you said, I forget how you put it, but you said you're trying to help our tribal people become or stay gainfully employed, something like that.
Oh yeah.
So that again, like just like that's a huge statement. And I like, when you talk about a mission statement like that, I talk about the one we have here at Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions, and I said, that's a lofty goal, and I couldn't say with 100% certainty that we hit it every day, but I said, but we sure as heck try every day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that's what I get from you guys. So discuss that a little more full. You want to. There's so much stuff involved.
There is, yes. And kind of like what Tim mentioned earlier, I mean, a lot of the programs under labor do co-serve. I mean, I've seen one client, I think, that received almost, not saying every service, but they, if they were a veteran, happen to have a disability, looking for employment, they register with a job bank. This could be the whole setup for somebody.
Wow, I hadn't thought about it that way.
For blending.
It's like a buffet. I mean, it's like,
Yes.
in the best way for that person.
Right. And then we also want to make sure that, when our people come to us that, we are, addressing, and providing, those positive solutions for them. And if it does take all 4 programs to help them out, then great, And while we're also doing that, we're communicating effectively to ensure we don't duplicate anything. Because we know sometimes, somebody might have got something twice when they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And, we want to make sure that we're stretching our dollars to meet the needs of our community.
Mm-hmm. I know, man, now we're getting, like I said, and just all kind of stuff. I know one of the things that I'm really good at forgetting stuff when I get up here. So I know that I'm glad you brought some notes.
Mm-hmm.
I know that one of the things you all wanted to talk about was you do career fairs, like I guess, was it one a year?
Yes, we do. We do have one in the spring. It's usually around April or May. We had one last year at May here, and it was in El Reno at the Canadian County Expo Center. And then this year we're going to be in Clinton at the Frisco Center there.
Okay. So what goes on at these career fairs?
Well,
I mean, I know what a career fair is. But I think most people do. But this is, since it's since it's the Department of Labor, it takes on a whole new thing.
Yes. What we want to do is, of course, inform our partners, such as training partners, at the tech centers or colleges, our trades services, such as carpentry, bricklaying, things like that, as well as also bring in recruiters too, as well, from the armed forces, and of course just local employers too, and then tribal programs that also provide services such as our education programs and our health programs too.
Now, when you have one of these, I know that, like I said, there's so many tribal programs who, I think probably there's probably a lot of people who never. I mean, obviously, we're all here working with the tribe. So, but I'm just saying there may be a lot of people who like, oh, I never really thought of that, or maybe their parents never did, or their family members didn't work for the tribes, but maybe they've been working in, I guess we would call it the private sector, or whatever, or other businesses. Do you find that they're blown away by what the tribes offer?
The individuals or the employers?
Well, the individuals.
Okay. Well, at times
there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a little bit too much for them to, digest all at once. But, again, too, that's why, we want to have, those positive, avenues for them, either through counseling, whether it's voc rehab or dreams, and providing, those understands that there are opportunities out here, and applying for them. And we know not everybody's the same. So, whatever their criteria they need to, provide, we try to do our best to make sure that they're prepared. So when they do come in, they have everything, because sometimes we know distance is the biggest barrier we have out here in Western Oklahoma.
Absolutely. So preach.
And we just want to make sure that it's just, well, for one, that we're meeting that barrier, as like we said earlier about online applications, or getting it mailed to them. But then when they come in, we also have other offices outside of Concho. We have one in Clinton, which is the old EMS building over there, kind of by the
in front of the senior center thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say the nutrition center. Yeah, the nutrition center. And then we also have one in Watonga over there next to the little Apple Mart grocery store.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So we have those areas so people can come in and either by appointment or just if they just come by, at least in Clinton we have people there all week long. Watonga's more by appointment still at this point.
And you I believe you mentioned at these career fairs you have other businesses like from around the community that show up, and I guess they're looking for employees as well, right?
Right. Yeah. We researched the area where we're going to be at to have the most relevant.
Do they get invites to come?
Yes.
Or do they? I mean, I'm just What do you have employers who say, "Hey, can I be your job fair?"
Yeah, we have a request form and stuff that we send out to the vendors that identify certain things of who they are, of course, contact information, and as well as, what type of employment, service, training, whatever they're there to provide, and that way we're able to record that information, and therefore, if we're having another one in their area, we want to reach out to them again, as long as they're, providing those opportunities for our people.
Because I think as we do these podcasts, we talk to so many different programs. One thing that keeps coming across is that, and I believe every program I've talked to has said it, man. It doesn't happen without partnerships.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
you can't do it. You can't go anything alone. And I think there's. I know that we've done so many where programs. The tribes here partner with El Reno, but like I said, we're talking about the tribal service area. We're talking about Clinton and Weatherford and Watonga and even some of the smaller towns. I guess like Gary and who else am I missing?
Thomas.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, so we're getting buy-in from employers in those small towns as well. Is that what you're saying?
It depends, of course, whether they're hiring or not. Of course, we want to be, visible to them as well, to let them know that, we are in the area and we do have that symbiotic relationship with them, whether they like it or not. Our tax dollars are helping them as well, So, I mean, of course, they always say, buy here, stay here,
Hey.
So, but, we want to make sure that, they are involved, or at least we put that olive branch out there for them to be involved.
Oh, you got to extend the branch, don't you? Okay, so I know we wanted to talk about the career fair. There was something.
Direct services
Thank
for
you,
the
thank you.
programs, yes.
Okay,
yes.
good. I don't have my notebook with me, so
Yeah.
Erwin, it's all you, baby. Tell
Okay.
us about those direct
I'll
services.
let the programs tell about them
Hey,
in more
all right,
detail,
even better.
because I don't specifically have any direct services. Just the administration. I just help them, with
Even
administrative
better.
stuff.
Who wants to go?
So if anybody wants to go
Me.
first, all right, Tim.
Kind of like I said, our services, it just depends on the individual, kind of like we talked about earlier. One of the areas we're really trying to push forward, though, now is kind of a new initiative with partnering with Dreams, and I know Kathleen, she came out with our Sage Club students. It's a club we developed last summer youth called Students Achieving Gainful Employment Sage Club. And what we did this past year was we went through we partnered with El Reno Indian Education. I'm sure most people know Miss Linda Halbutta, and we partnered with her, and we were in the classroom on Friday afternoons teaching work skills, work readiness skills, resume skills, and we also incorporated traditional entrepreneurship in the spring. And we actually had Miss Kathleen. She came out and taught a class on those little mini headdresses, and so we're teaching we're teaching these youth these basic skills. But also there's an implement of traditional element where this past spring we made hand drums. We did earrings. We did things like that really kind of showcased what we do as Native people and how we can create our own businesses and have those transferable skills to kind of move forward if there's an opportunity. Because I always tell the kids, like, the reality is we're trying to get you ready because honestly, you're going to come and you're going to replace me. You're going to replace Erwin. You're going to replace all of us one day.
Not me. No,
Oh yeah,
I'm kidding.
I'm not Flash either.
No, I'm kidding. You mentioned basic skills, and what grade range is this?
This is for it's high school freshman to senior.
Okay.
Because our services are geared toward older, 14 and up.
The thing that jumped out at me, you said basic skills. Let's see. Do you find, and I'm talking to everybody here, when you do stuff like this, do you find that there are a lot of, do you find that there are a lot of skills that they need for gainful employment that are lacking? And what do you see those? What do you see that's lacking? And this is for both of you or whoever.
I find for a resume, there may not be a lack of skills, but a lack of awareness of their soft skills. And soft skills are those inherent characteristics you already have, like easy, quick learner, reliable, punctual. Those are, and the youth will tell you, we know. So I tell them all the time about soft skills. Everyone has soft skills, and so I think there's a lack of awareness of having those and like fleshing those out on a resume and to make you more employable.
Hey, that's right. It doesn't matter how smart you are if you never show up on time.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. That's a big one. We tell them, show up.
Hey, you can't be smart in my office if you ain't here, right? Kathleen, you know it's the same thing?
I think soft skills, but also just, asking questions, following directions. That's a simple skill. I mean, parents are always telling their kids what to do, But how many parents actually hold their kids accountable for what they're doing?
Ooh, now we
Setting
preaching.
expectations.
We're gonna have to pass the plate.
Hey. but I think setting those expectations help kids learn this is what I need to be doing, and because eventually that's going to be the job later on. Washing dishes. A lot of parents, we don't give our kids chores anymore. I find a lot of families that aren't letting their kids, they want to do everything because maybe they had to do it when they were younger. They're like, oh, I'm going to spare my child from having to do this.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, go ahead. Basketball is important. We're not going to worry about these skills. As long as you're doing basketball, you're good. But these day-to-day skills, the day-to-day interaction, communication with our kids.
I'm so glad you said that. I think because we have the opportunity here at Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions to do a lot of career type stuff as well. We there's Indian Youth Career Day with high schools. We always do, and the great thing is we get to talk to high school kids and college kids as well. We try to gauge interest in what we're doing. And as far as media goes, and what I will, when I was a kid, I was super shy. I know you don't believe that, but I was, and probably until I was in high school, I really was. But I see it, and I understand that for a lot of Native kids, that's probably the way they were raised. I understand that, but when you said communication, a lot of times they will not go up in front of the class and speak. A lot of times they won't even speak from their desk. If I call on someone, they just give me this look like if I say anything, everybody's gonna make fun of me. And that's the worst that'll happen. Hey, that's gonna happen a lot more, so get over it. But I think communications, that's something that's, first of all, as Indian people, it's been so important to us since time immemorial, right? We're the original storytellers. We should own that.
Exactly.
But when it comes to, I took a class in college. It was all about Indian oratory, and there was all these fantastic speeches from these fantastic chiefs, and that things like that bother me. When I see these, I know these kids have potential, but they will not. Even they may be the smartest kids, and with all these skills in the world, but they cannot stand in front of people and speak. How do we? Is that something you guys notice, or are you able to address it all?
Well, I think it goes back to the home,
because
when you talk about talking, and from the time that they're babies, a lot of people was like, oh, there's a baby, just keep him in the bed, keep him in the little swing, keep him in the little rocker. And there's like not a lot of holding. And, if you think traditionally, we held those babies and we talked to them, we sang to them. And even if we knew they didn't, in our minds, we're like, well, they can't talk back to me, so why am I talking to them? But you talk to them, and you tell them what you're doing, or, as they get older, as toddlers, you begin to show them things and talk to them and interact with them daily, But I don't think a lot of that is happening. It's like, I got my business, you do your business. You got a room full of toys, go play, and we don't, help.
I can see that.
Help that happen. And then I used to do parenting classes. And one of the things that they did talk about was the stories. When we share our family stories and we share them among, just in general, eating at the table, or one evening we decide we want to just visit and talk about grandma or great-grandma, or, what it was like a long time ago. When we share those stories, we build self-esteem in our kids. And then when we're able to have them retell those stories, like even when you're growing up and you're driving, you're like, hey, I went to that school when I was younger, and then you tell a
I do
story.
that all the time. Ask
but,
my kids.
But later on, the kids will be like,
yeah.
When they're a little bit older, when they're still kids, and they're like, Dad, you went to that school? Mom, you went to that school? And then my grandkids always tell my husband, is like, remember that time you did this, because he would tell them about different things. But, that creates that communication. They're able to retell the stories that you once told them. And when they're able to do that at home, that builds their confidence. And when they have confidence, they begin to trust. But when you don't have confidence, you don't trust. So that makes you less leery to talk to other strangers because you're not confident yourself. And so that's something that has to begin from from young. So now, how do we help our kids today? Now we've
Because-
got the phones, we've got the iPads, all these
As I
electronics.
jump in, those communication skills are important in almost every line of work. Let's just to bring it back around. I mean, if you're having an issue with your the project you're doing, if you don't ask for help, if you don't know how to communicate.
Well, that's just like this career fair. We're going to have tons of kids coming through, but if all they're doing is come by, it's like, what's free? I've got to get the freebies. But nobody's dialoguing.
Yeah.
The booth people
I
aren't,
see that all the
booth
time.
people aren't saying anything to the kids, and the
Yeah.
kids aren't saying anything to
Because that's that falls on the adults as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you can't.
Hey, you started out talking about the Department of Labor. Now we got a conversation on parenting. Man, me and Kathleen going to sit here. Y'all can leave. Well, look, this has been awesome, and I don't want to go. We can go another 30 minutes, but I don't want. I know we've covered a lot, and I don't want to cover it at the same ground. But as I understand, we're going to have some more folks from your program.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
In another episode, so don't worry. We're gonna let you know more about the Department of Labor, more than you'll ever want to know about the Cheyenne and Arapaho Department of Labor. So I want to thank you all sincerely for being here, and hipping me more to help me to understand what you do for our people. So thank you, ha-ho, and we will see you next time on Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.